Kyle Mann, who is the editor-in-chief of the Babylon Bee itself, joins us now. And he's got his headphones on, but he's got his phone out because we're just assuming that his mic is haunted. Or Twitter's extending its control, like fetish, to his microphone. So, Kyle, always good to have you. I love the shirt, by the way. Thin Lizzy is a fantastic band. Welcome to the program.
Oh, yeah. Thin Lizzy, Live and Dangerous, classic record. Love it. Yeah, so we filed this brief with the Supreme Court, obviously supporting Mr. Novak and his fight against the police department and his fight for the right to parody something.
Right, which is weird that because people are, is it just that we've gotten too stupid as a species that other people they don't know what parody is anymore? I mean, how did this, because we used to never have these problems. I mean, it's very clear.
Well, The Onion filed a brief in this case also, and it was pretty funny. And one of the points that they made is parody isn't any less defensible under the First Amendment if people get confused by it. In fact, that's one of the things that makes satire work. I mean, you go all the way back to Jonathan Swift and A Modest Proposal, and that's part of what makes it so shocking and effective is that people read it and go, oh, this guy's actually arguing in favor of eating Irish babies. That's part of the shock effect that makes it work. And so it doesn't matter if some grandmas on Facebook thought that this was a real parody, a real police department page. That's part of what makes the parody work.
There's always some truth in humor. That's why it works.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially in satire, because that's the grain of truth. That's the most common comment you get, like, this is so true. It's funny because it's true.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, we wrote a satirical brief as well as a real one that we filed. We wanted to file the satirical brief, but
it's hysterical.
apparently
Can
that
I
would
just
get
tell people,
a lawyer in trouble.
Your first argument is when the First Amendment was written, jokes hadn't been invented yet. And it's like when satire criticizes those in power, it makes them sad. These are true things, and it's also hysterical. Is there any chance? I mean, I think it would be pretty. Brave is not the word. Like, it would be I'd be hysterical if you filed it. I mean, obviously, I understand why you wouldn't. Your first one, the one that you did file, your Amicus Brief was very humorous. But this it's just in true Babylon Bee style. That, like, we can never really truly enjoy our freedoms as Americans if we know that someone somewhere might be making fun of us. That's a favorite. Are you going to file this one?
Yeah, we can't. There's a lot of issues with trying to file it. That was our first goal, was to actually file this satirical brief on the wrong side. But you have to get the respondent or the other side to agree to it.
Right.
And then even if we could trick them into thinking we were on their side and getting it filed, we could be like in breach of all kinds of rules of the court for filing this. So we decided that we didn't want to go to jail for this great joke.
But it would have been, that would have been a great stunt. We're talking with our friend Kyle Mann, editor-in-chief of Babylon Bee. And I wanted to ask you too, because I mean, you guys are a great satire site. You also were suspended, if I'm remembering correctly, on Twitter over the pronoun issue. Did you ever regain the ability to use your account yet? Or is it one of those things where you have to delete a tweet, bend the knee, so to speak, digitally in order to be able to have your account function again?
Yeah, we were never technically banned. It was always, we were locked out of the account until we did the, acknowledge the hateful conduct policy and click delete. So we're still not into our account because we still haven't deleted that tweet.
Yeah, because it makes sense why you wouldn't. I mean, that by itself, I think is parody. You also have a great piece up, the 10 most controversial things you can finally say on Twitter. And the fun, again, just going back to what you were saying, there's always some truth in it. Like, for instance, Rings of Power isn't that good. I've never seen people so at each other's throats, especially on the right, than this discussion. I'm almost terrified to bring it up with you now. But that right there is exactly that's it, because people run away from this conversation. There's a shred of truth in it. Or candy corn tastes like earwax. Your boos mean nothing. I think that candy corn is an amazing Halloween candy, and I've been ratioed to the nth degree for saying this. But it's true, though. But I love this, and I don't know. Is it ever going to be free like it was being unconcerned about saying things that are actually true but may hurt someone's feelings because they're too sensitive. Can you ever like close that Pandora's box? Can you ever go back? Are people so fed up that you actually can go back to how it used to be?
I don't know. I mean, it does feel like there's kind of a healthy backlash and reaction to how sensitive everything has gotten. You even have comedians on the left who are starting to say unpopular things on their side because it's just comedy is so boring if you're only able to say the things that your side wants you to say. You know, if you're only able to make fun of the right, if you're a leftist comedian or whatever. So you start to want to poke at your own audience. You know, you start to want to say the things that people don't want you to. That's kind of the heart of a comedian, is always to toe that line and even fall over that line sometimes and go a little too far. Do the thing that people don't think that you're going to do.
Yeah. There's some of these I want to test. Like I want to just test and see if I get suspended for telling someone to learn to code. I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to push those boundaries. We're talking with Kyle Mann, editor-in-chief of the Babylon Bee. And originally we were talking about this Amicus Brief in support of parody rights. I wanted to get your take too on this story that came out with DHS and working with all these different social media platforms, I guess them as agents of state to control what they are calling disinformation. I mean, I realize that this poses a major threat, but I'm also so amused that we have the manpower in the federal government to be this petty.
Yeah, well, and this is what we've been saying for a long time, you know, is that social media companies are acting as de facto arms of the federal government to enforce censorship. And people laughed at us, you know, or people kind of brushed us aside and said, oh, no, that's, you know, they're a private company. They can do what they want. And you're like, no, they're like actually on the phone with the government. And is it any less a violation of your First Amendment rights if the government is asking someone to do it? We have a good piece on the Babylon Bee that's like a Skynet Terminator is crushing someone, you know, and it's like, well, they're a private company. They can do what they want, you know, even though it's like, you know, the government is controlling these things and making it do these horrible oppressive things. So that's kind of the vindication now that we're seeing with DHS and what Mark Zuckerberg admitted to, that basically they just got on the phone with the FBI and they're like, suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story. And they're like, okay.
Yeah, no big deal. We'll do it.
It's crazy.
It is it is crazy. Are you optimistic with Elon Musk taking over? I mean, he's made some changes, but I think everybody is so used to being abused that we're all just kind of cautious and we're just sort of like, we're just sort of, recoiling. We don't know what to expect. What are your thoughts? What do you think he's going to do?
I have no idea, but I mean, cautious optimism for sure. I mean, you know, it can't be worse.
Yeah, you've had him. You guys have had him on your podcast. You guys have talked to him. He seemed pretty agreeable.
Yeah, he seemed really vulnerable and honest. Like he didn't seem polished. Like he had a PR guy with him telling him exactly what to say. It seemed like he was just shooting from the hip and saying what he wanted to say. So that was pretty refreshing to see. Yeah,
that was nice to see. Well, hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll improve and get a little bit better. But we appreciate what you guys do over at Babylon Bee, because I think that your guys' site's one of my favorite. So today, like, my favorite headline is the newly hired restaurant hostess who got her ceremonial nose ring, because that is so unbelievably true. There has to be a ceremony somewhere where they are all awarded this accessory, because I don't know, it is it's hysterical because part of it is true, and it's not in a mean way. It's just, it is what it is. But I guess, we'll watch and see if SCOTUS ends up what's done on this case, this Novak case. So hopefully, I mean, I always get a little nervous when, you put any kind of speech issue in the hand of a judge or Supreme Court, even though I know the makeup of the court. I always get a little nervous, but we'll see what happens. But I appreciate what you all do, and keep up the fight.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Of course.